Hello, welcome to the Chirp YouTube channel. My name is Christy and I am your friendly online speech-language pathologist and specialist in children's communication development, which includes behavior, because behavior is a type of communication. I would like to have a quick little story time today about a student I recently met who is a very, very good example of that video that I filmed recently about the second developmental capacity, which is engaging and relating. I am a speech-language pathologist, as I said just a bit ago, and I wrote a curriculum. You can find out more about that right there. And I help churches become more welcoming for kids who have developmental differences. I consult with churches, I train churches, and I am a volunteer leader in my own current church and in two past local churches we attended for long periods of time to help develop and strengthen programs for kids with developmental differences at those churches as well. So I do it in real life, and I help wherever possible other churches to do the same thing. In that process, I run into a wide variety of students with various different needs, and a lot of times I don't know anything about them before their families drop them off with me, which is an interesting deductive process. I am like a detective trying to figure out how to connect with the students that I meet. And this particular student, I'm going to call her Amanda, not her real name. She showed up. I had a brief interaction with her dad asking about safety issues, and he was not completely truthful about that, I'm sorry to say. I asked him if she was a runner, and he said she hasn't run in a very long time. Well, that is not the question I asked, and indeed, she's definitely a runner. We were able to keep her safe, but it was a hands-on her at all times sort of job, because in that particular classroom, we did not have a closing door. We did not have what she really needed to keep her safest. Next time, we will know better with this particular student. Okay, so Amanda shows up. I have a brief interaction with her dad, and then I start to get to know Amanda. She's just wandering back and forth, acting agitated, and it is at this point when she starts to act like she's going to run. Some people cannot sense this when a child's going to run away. I have a radar. I did a short video about that there, where you can find out more. That video is about elopement, which is when kids run away. Just seem to run away out of nowhere, but there are always reasons why students do this. So teach yourself a little more about that if you can. In my field, as we're talking through these developmental capacities, my job as the communication partner is to help the child learn to stay calm and regulated. That's developmental capacity number 1. And then developmental capacity number 2, my job is to try to find a way to connect with the child. Find what interests the child and get in there and do it with her. And in this case, all I have is Amanda. I have a limited amount of sensory equipment with me in this particular classroom. When I'm actually going to be meeting a child I know has specific needs, then I am more prepared. But in this case, I had some equipment, and she did not show a lot of interest in any of it. But it was a loud classroom. Her family had dropped her into our typical programming, which is very loud. It's full of many children and a lot of music and games and noisiness and grown-ups and families dropping their kids off. And Amanda was overstimulated. And I needed to find a way to help her calm herself down and stay calm. And then I wanted to get to know her. I wanted to be able to connect. I wanted to engage with her. So I am bringing up everything I can. I'm bringing up a wobble board to stand on. I'm bringing out some magnetic letters. I'm bringing out my gear set. I'm bringing out all of my equipment to see if it will spark some interest for her. Because that's what we have to do. We have to spark interest before we know what the child wants to interact with. And then when we know that, we can interact with the child in that activity. But I wasn't finding anything that really attracted her. And this is the case for a lot of students who are not very good at engaging and relating yet. They're also not very interested in activities yet, typically. They're interested in sensory things many times because that helps them calm down. That helps them with developmental capacity number 1. But developmental capacity number 2, engaging and relating, still remains difficult. That was the case for Amanda. So I started following her as she was walking back and forth along the back of the classroom and listening. She wasn't very verbal, but she had a few words that she said, and one of them was limbo. And I wasn't sure if this was something that she had seen in a movie that she really liked. I wasn't sure if she was talking about the game of limbo. I wasn't sure if this was meaningless to her. She didn't know what the word meant, but she liked the sound of it. I did not know what this meant, but I heard it a couple times, and so I said, limbo, limbo. She looked at me for the first time and said, limbo. How low can you go? So now I have an additional clue. She was talking about the game of limbo, and she was very interested in it because she was willing to look at me, a stranger at this point, and she was willing to use more words with me, which is very difficult for her. So then I held out my arm at shoulder length and I said, how low can you go? She got really excited and she did a little shimmy under my arm and we connected. This was my in with her. I was able to connect with her because I listened, because she said something that I could understand, and we could build on that. And so in a typical classroom, we could not play limbo the whole time because there are all these other children. And so it was not as successful of an experience for her as I would have wished that it had been. And we would have made it a better experience if her family had communicated with us in advance. So if you are a family member of a child who has developmental differences, I know it's very tempting to throw your child into the typical programming and just see how it goes. But it's really not helpful to your child. It leaves them without the support that they need and without the preparation that those adults, those professionals, those teachers could have made in advance that would have really made it a much better experience for her. If she had been placed into a separate classroom with less chaos, with a closable door, with adults who actually know what we're doing when it comes to communicating with kids who have different needs, she would have had a much more successful experience. And so, you have 2 lessons to take away from this short video today. Number 1 is connect with a child. Listen to what the child is saying. Watch the child's body language. If there are words that you hear, pay attention and try to connect with the child through that. Don't start talking blah blah blah, limbo is the best, I love limbo, we did limbo on our last vacation to the Caribbean. Don't do that. Just say limbo and start doing the thing that the child is interested in doing. Not too much verbal language, not many expectations. Just join in and help the child do this activity. because it's going to help the child to calm down and it's going to help you build a relationship together. Also, watch that video about this developmental capacity right there. And lesson number 2 is prepare a new environment for your child so that your child doesn't feel lost at sea, alone and abandoned with people who don't understand her in a classroom that is too chaotic. It's not fair to anyone. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next week with a new video, and I hope you're having a great week. See you soon. Bye.